precious Father, we thank you for this opportunity to come together as a city. And we ask, Lord, that you would bless this city, bless those who care to run and help this city. And Lord, open our minds and our eyes and our ears to hear what needs to be done, to see what we can do, and to do it. May we have peace and contentment here tonight, for we ask it in the name of your Son. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, can we have a moment of silence for all of the people who were recently murdered? All right.
Thank you.
Mr. Clerk, roll call.
Carter. Miller. Petula.
I'm here.
Taylor Burks. Waterman.
Here.
Williams.
Present.
Woodward. Mr. President, you have a quorum.
Okay. Need authorization to excuse Councilman Woodward and Pro Tem Carter, both for personal reasons.
So moved.
All right, it's been moved and supported. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Miller.
Yes.
Petula.
Yes.
Taylor Burks.
Yes.
Waterman.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes. All right, any amendments to the agenda?
So those are the DPW subcommittee reports, the real estate.
Okay, I need a motion to add the DPW subcommittee report and the real estate subcommittee report to the record.
Move.
Which move you gonna take? Two people said it.
Who said it? Well, I need a second.
Support.
Okay, I'll take the move from Waterman, the support from Petula. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Petula.
Yes.
Taylor
I'm going
Burks.
to ask for a point of privilege. Is this the appropriate time?
Waterman.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes. Okay.
Miller.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Miller.
Oh, yeah.
All right. The DPW subcommittee report and the real estate subcommittee report have been added to the agenda. Is there any other amendments to the agenda? Madam Mayor?
I'm just asking for a point of privilege.
Is it about
If you want to take the amendments first, and then I understand that this is the appropriate time that we ask for point of privilege. So I just would like to.
No, that's, I don't think that's.
I don't know what that is.
No, you said that I just asked what I just asked you. But anyway, I'm asking for a point of privilege as the mayor, and if you want to take your amendment, then the point of privilege would come in after that.
Madam Mayor, there's 3 reports that's on this agenda that will give you the opportunity to speak. I think the second one.
None of them regards any of those. I'm just asking for a point of privilege, which is what I understand.
Go ahead.
Should I go now?
Yeah, go
okay.
ahead. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. I was going to wait for the amendments, but the point of privilege I asked for, and I thank you, Council President, for asking for that moment of silence for the victims of the mass shootings, 3 in a week. It's all right if I finish this now, Coco. I'm just going to respond to the Council President and my train of thought. So this is tragic for across the nation. I thank you for doing that. We also heard from the Mayor Nan Whaley of Dayton today. And I know her personally as mayor. I also know the mayor personally of El Paso, Texas. And she asked that people remember that illegal guns are the cause of a lot of the tragedies to people. And I did send her back on behalf of the citizens of Pontiac, and I just want to let you know that we did have sympathy with the victims of these innocent victims of these crimes. That City of Pontiac, through your mayor, I was an adherent and have signed on to the illegal guns some years ago, as well as the fact that in accordance with cities across the nation, that our flags here at the City of Pontiac are flown half-mast. So I just wanted to alert you to that we have followed that precedent that has been set by cities across the nation who are, as many of us, just aggrieved by the fact that what this is happening and that it's becoming too common in our country, and certainly at a later time we'll tell you things about we want to address as a city along with the sheriff to provide for some proactive measures to make sure that hopefully Pontiac isn't one of the cities in that list of 250 now that have been struck by this kind of tragic incident. So thank you for the point of privilege, Council President. I just wanted to add those comments for the incidents that have occurred.
Good Lord.
Oh, okay, thank you. Any other amendments to the agenda? I would.
An amendment?
What? You what?
Was that an amendment to the agenda?
No, but
We need
I
to
do
vote.
have a correction to just item number 5, just to scratch the 3 words interim finance director from that presentation.
Mr. President, we need to take roll call on accepting this amendment of the votes.
We took a roll call on those two, yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. I apologize.
Right,
I mean,
so,
I apologize.
is there a move and second just to scratch those words?
Yes, very.
Is there a move and support?
Just to remove interim?
Yep.
Yes.
All right, it's been moved and supported. Any discussion? Seeing none. Roll call?
Taylor Burks.
Yes.
Waterman.
Staying.
Williams.
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Petula.
Yes.
Okay. Amendment passes now. I need a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
A motion to approve the agenda as amended being made.
Support.
Has been moved by Petula, supported by Doris Taylor Burks. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call?
Waterman.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Petula.
Yes.
Taylor Burks.
Yes.
All right, agenda approved, which brings us to approval of the minutes. The first item is July 29th, 2019 special meeting.
So
Is it-
moved.
Support.
It's been moved by Councilwoman Petula, supported by Councilwoman Doris Taylor Burks. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call?
Williams.
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Petula.
Yes.
Taylor Burks.
Yes.
Waterman.
Staying.
Which brings us to item number 2, July 30th, 2019 study session.
Move.
Support.
It's been moved by Councilwoman Doris Taylor Burks, supported by Councilwoman Petula. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call?
Miller.
Yes.
Petula.
Yes.
Taylor Burks.
Yes.
Waterman.
Yes.
Williams.
Abstain. All right, which brings us to subcommittee report, community development. That's in our packet. And so the chairperson is not here, so we're going to move on to recognition of elected officials. Are there any elected officials in the?
You added the DPW and.
Oh, okay. The clerk just informed me that we added the DPW report and the real estate.
Yes,
Do you want to read that or just leave it in the packets?
Just leave it in the pack, Mr. President.
Okay, that's for DPW. What about real estate? I'm the chair of real estate, so I will leave that in the packet. Which brings us to recognition of elected officials. Seeing none, any agenda address, Mr. Clerk?
No.
Okay, which brings us to item number 4, which is Pontiac Youth Recreation Enrichment Center Data Report, presentation by Ben Plasman, Senior Financial Analyst.
Council President, I'm going to give part of this report as well. Thank you. Thank you, Council President. Thank you, Madam Mayor, council members, and welcome to our visitors and guests to our meeting this evening. First of all, I wanted to let you know that since June 17th, when we started our summer program, we've had an amazing program with regards as it relates to the number of participants that have been coming. On a regular basis, on a daily basis, we have at least over 200 participants attending the PIREC. Just this past week, we counted a total of 977 participants just this week. And this means that on average, we can have as many as 180 to 200 participants on a daily basis. One of the things that I wanted to bring to your attention is we've made a couple of format changes as to how the PIREC is being run. And one of the things that we now have is day camps. And we've broken up these day camps by the age of the individuals. We have the Pee Wee camp for 5 to 6-year-olds. We have a junior camp for 7 to 9-year-olds. We have a preteen, and then we have those that are over 13 years of age. And then we also, believe it or not, we have a program for our infants and toddlers, and this is thanks to our program we have with the Oakland Family Services, and there they provide classes for parents and their children. They help them with any type of referral services, and they provide also disposable diapers. So at all times during this program, the parents are with the children, so they're never by themselves, and they come in as needed or as they can. So again, PIREC has done a tremendous job. Just to give you an idea in terms of our employees, we have 15 employees at the PIREC. Those are city employees. Only 2 of them are full-time, the rest are part-time. And then also we work with Michigan Works. So we have a total of 5 Michigan Works people. Now, these are in addition to the 15 part-time that we have there. And those are all part-time employees. Now, the types of programs that we provide at PIREC include, we have an art studio, we have sports camp, we have the YMCA Sport Port program, where they do soccer and flag football, and these are on Mondays and Wednesdays. We also provide charity music, where children have exposure to different types of musical instruments, and this is on Thursdays. We also provide computer lab, dance, crafts, board games. And then, of course, at Murphy Park, we have a total of 5 employees, and they're all part-time, that are there at the Murphy Summer Park. And there, on a regular basis, we have at least 60 to 65 participants that attend the Murphy Park program. And again, it's been very successful. It's the types of programs that we provide there include things such as sports, kickball, we do some trail walk, we also do competitive playing, we do provide lunch, and by the way, we also provide lunch and a snack to our participants at PIREC, so it's been going very well. I do have some photos that I wanted to share with you, and I don't know if we're able to do that. Oh, they did? Okay, so you saw the various students that are out there. They're having a great time. I've heard nothing but positive remarks from them. Really good. I can tell you that I'm very pleased with our staff. And I'd like to especially thank a few of our staff members that have been working with us. In particular, Mr. Robert Birch, who's been acting as our interim manager, Mr. Troy Kraft, Jonas Gray, Kenyatta Bowman. Kenyatta deals with the older girls, excuse me, and she provides mentoring. Ariel Taylor, who does a lot of our clerical work. Charity Murch, who does much of our arts. Regina Press also does our arts, and Nancy Staub, who's also a part-time person, and she helps us with our clerical. So we've managed to come together, provide a good program. You do see when you come to our center that it's better organized. As I said, the students know where to go, and we've developed these day camps so that, again, we give structure and form to our enrichment center. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to...
Excuse me, Deputy Mayor, before you turn it over, I'm going to stop your time. You only mentioned what happened from the start of the summer program. The youth recreation has been running over a full year now with taxpayer dollars. Does this report include anything prior to the youth summer programming?
I believe Ben's does, yes, Ben's report, yes. He'll give you a more report, and he'll give you some other things that we've been doing, the different types of programs that we've been provided at PIREC, so it's a little bit more fuller.
And you guys are providing a copy of that report to us because it's not in our packets?
Yes, we will provide you with a copy.
Council President, I do have a question for the Deputy Mayor. And the question, Deputy Mayor, you just stated that you have 2 full-time people working over at the PIREC. When this council approved the budget, we said not all of us agreed to it, but the majority ruled one full-time person. We know that Jason quit. So who are your 2 full-time people?
Well, right now, we're using, for assistance, because of the reductions in staff, we're using one of our clerical staff to help us out there.
I just
And-
need to know, who are your 2 full-time people? I don't need a whole
Okay.
dissertation.
All
The
right, Mayor.
answer, please.
All right, Councilwoman. It is Robert Birch and Ariel Taylor.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, that's it.
All right. I'm here to present just on some brief data collection that we have gathered regarding the Pontiac Youth Recreation Center. We have recently begun calculating all this data, and we found some interesting trends. And as you can see here in this chart, it's a brief pie chart, and it shows the time allocation of youth members in Pontiac and what programs they're using the most. As you can see, the gym is a fairly popular area. There also is board games and game rooms, which are pretty popular, arts and crafts as well. And it kind of gives the program overview as to what members of the youth are going to and what they're not. So how we've calculated up to this point is we have used sign-in sheets. Kids go into a room, they sign in, and that's pretty much it. What we're about to do, though, is we're going to be implementing an individual ID card. And so what will happen is children get their own card with their photo on it, and they scan it in every time they enter the Pontiac Youth Recreation Center. And when they enter into a room, they scan in, and when they leave a room, they scan out. And they do that for rooms. And we're going to do this because it'll help us to be better able to track where youth members are going. And it'll also be able to help us kind of understand what programs are being more utilized than others and how we allocate resources as well. Now, on the next slide, if we can go to the next slide, this is something also that's been fascinating, and it's attendance. And we did this bi-monthly. And as you can see, attendance has been really skyrocketing. With that said, staff has remained fairly stagnant. Altogether, when combined with different groups according to Human Resources, there's about 48 people altogether on staff. Now, it's important to keep in mind that according to Michigan state law, that the youth to faculty ratio for children 5 to 12 is supposed to be 10 to 1, and for ages 13 and above, it's 13 to 1. And so that's one of the challenges that's presented at PIRAC. Moving forward, though, I think we're establishing a structure, and the goal with regards to it is to help us accommodate this growth and track it appropriately so we can figure out how to best utilize our resources and go forward from there. Any questions regarding that one?
Yeah, because I couldn't see any of the slides. My question is, how many kids have you had total? How many kids on average a day before the summer activities?
Okay, so how many kids we've had total? Looking at this, we didn't add this up, but in June and July, those 2 months combined, we had a total attendances of 5,389. We have about a little over 2,000 individual youth members have registered for the Pontiac Youth Rec program. And before the school, well, during the school year, attendance was a lot lower. So in October, November of 2018, it was at 2,100. It grew to 2,900 in the next 2 months, and it eventually went from 3,800 in April and May, which is kind of towards the end of the school year, to about 5,300 presently over the summer in June and July.
So how many unduplicated kids did you have, let's say, in October?
I do not have that information presently.
What I'm saying is, you guys said you guys were going to give us a data report. I'm asking you for the numbers that you had. This presentation that was 10 minutes leaned very heavily toward June, July, and August, which we know that the youth recreation has kids in the summertime, and I'm glad that they're running that program. The question that was really before the council is budgeting accurately for the entire year to make sure that the staffing and those numbers are there. And so I'm asking the data, I'm just asking the numbers. I'm not asking the philosophical question on why things are why.
Okay.
I'm just asking for the numbers. And so if you guys, because I've been asking for this report for about 7 months, and the data that I'm getting today is just saying that in the summertime, kids want to play at the Youth Recreation Center. And so I'm trying to find out, well, let me just ask this question, and I'll be quiet, Madam Mayor. What is the peak hour of kids throughout the year at the Youth Recreation Center?
Depends on what time of the year, because the programs run for different hours depending on whether it's after school during the school year or whether it's on summer. So I put this schedule on I put this report on the agenda. This was at we put this on the agenda because I want periodically to give you a snapshot of what's going on with the Youth Rec Center, so you have some idea about that ongoing. And I think the purpose of this report was to show, as he used the word, the attendance and attractiveness on the number of children who are using the Youth Rec Center is growing exponentially. They're coming in for the variety of programs that are going on. We're bringing in other partners, and we just wanted to give you periodically a snapshot of what the facilities are, so you know that the taxpayer money is being well spent, and I think we are understanding that we are providing a lot of youth services, healthy, wholesome activities for our children in every increasing variety and abundance. So that was the point of my putting this report on. Now, if you have other questions, other kinds of data, please give us that in writing, and we can include that in a report if we want. There's all kinds of data we can give you.
Madam Mayor, the program has been running for not only a fiscal year, but a calendar year at this point. You guys gave me a snapshot of the summer, and so if I took the data that you gave me with this report, I would say that we should allocate as much resources as possible in the summertime for our kids, and then during the rest of the year, we should just shut it down. And so I'm trying to figure out if this is a year-round program with taxpayer dollars that we have to allocate every year, where those numbers are. And so for you to say, just give me the questions that you want in writing, if I leave something out, that means you guys are not providing that data. I'm just trying to figure out, because you brought in a senior financial analyst.
Yes.
The questions that you probably know, Madam Mayor, that we're not privy to, we need a report with those questions. So what you've been asking, and I believe you've been doing a good job of asking your staff what's really happening over at the Youth Recreation Center.
Yes.
The council needs a report that showcases those same things.
Okay.
So that's what I'm asking for. So I don't want to spend a whole lot of time going back and forth. I'm just saying we just need a real comprehensive report with real data that says that in November this is what we really need, in September this is what we need, January, February, et cetera.
Okay.
So anybody else?
We'd be happy to provide that.
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, item number 5.
Item number 5 is the feasibility study regarding the purchasing of Hayes Jones, and I would like the participants in this to come forward. I'll introduce you, and then I'll turn it over to you for the time that we have. Just for the viewing audience that want to know what this is, the owner of the Weston Tennis Club is here, Mr. Bill Massey, and he has been in the business ever since he acquired this property from the city, and many people know this property, long-timers, as the Hayes Jones Community Center. And as everybody here knows, the community centers, the 4 were, under the term of the emergency manager, were sold off, or in other ways disposed of, or allowed to sit vacant, in the case of Ewald Center. But the Weston Tennis Club has been developed by Mr. Massey, who has run it as a private tennis club. He has indicated to the city that he's no longer interested in running this private tennis club. He is going to sell the facility, and he's offering the city the first right of refusal to get back this property that he's developed beautifully to get it back to use as a community center or whatever we choose. So that is something that he has introduced to the city. He did bring it to the real estate subcommittee, and I think it was Councilwoman Patrice Waterman, as well as yourself, Council President, who did receive from Bill Massey. I think you had 2 real estate subcommittee meetings. I was not at them. They were, I think, 2 a week apart. And at the second one, Mr. Massey did bring the offer to purchase and the terms of that contract that he would like the city, if we're going to consider purchasing it. So we have been able to put that out to some of our citizens. We had, for the seniors, we did have a magnificent event, a white party, so the seniors could come and see it for themselves. And for others in the community, I think some other people have had events there, so we can see how it's been developed since we knew it as the Hayes Jones Club. So, community center. So one of the things is that it has the Olympic-sized swimming pool that is there, that has been beautifully restored, that is operational now, as well as it's on 8 acres, which have been beautifully manicured because Mr. Massey has restored it and has done those 25 grass tennis courts. So, as the real estate subcommittee did bring the offer to purchase that had been delivered to them from Mr. Massey, you gave it to me. And we have since then gotten some information, some basic information, and we're going to tell you what that information has been, what we found out. Now, if the city is going to consider that offer, one of the things we had to do was a feasibility study. Is this financially appropriate for us to do that? No. So that's the first report that we have for you. And then later on in the agenda, we have put down the resolution. If the council wishes to pursue this purchase offer, then there's some due diligence we have to do, some negotiating we have to do. And if you want us to go forward with that, and the owner wants to know what the receptivity of council is to going ahead to look at this offer, then the council needs to pass the resolution authorizing us to move forward with doing the due diligence which is necessary. Due diligence for title work includes such things as a phase 1, phase 2, environmental studies. It includes getting an appraisal, it includes doing an inventory. And we do have, for the purpose of that feasibility study, both our finance department and then when later on in the agenda, when you are discussing the resolution, we will have present for your discussion is the attorney who is handled our real estate matters, as well as Mr. Massey himself. So right now, we have the agenda of the feasibility study, and I'm going to call forward the people, the correspondents, in terms of that, so they can discuss that with you. So at least you can discover the financial appropriateness or soundness of a potential sale of this facility. Mr. Newsom and Mr. Plasman will start that discussion.
This is the first time we get anything to read, and we're expected to make a decision.
So, Madam Mayor has walked you through exactly what you will be seeing. I'm going to leave you in the hands of Mr. Plasman in just a second. I'll be doing the slides, but if there are any questions that deal with the financial status of the city or anything specific that I need to answer, he will divert to me.
All right. So when conducting this feasibility study, we first had to figure out how much are these properties worth. And we used information from the Oakland County Assessor's Office. And we looked up the parcels, and this is what we found. If you go to the next slide, you can see it's estimated purchase price according to market value of $361,160. Now, in the next slide, this is something that is included with regards to that as well. There's 25 tennis courts, an Olympic-sized swimming pool, 8 acres of land, furniture, which also would most likely not have been included in the assessment, as well as other potential assets as well that we would have to do our due diligence on. Now, this is an assumption just to show our ending fund balance if we purchase this at market price. And you can see it really wouldn't make much of a difference regarding our ending fund balance if we purchased it at market price.
One thing I do want to,
Whoa.
what he's showing is the fact that we're projecting that you're going to end the year of 6/30/2019 at about $16.5 million of fund balance. But if you were to take that from fund balance, you've only got $360,000 coming out of fund balance. So that's what he's showing. So the impact of the projected fund balance, and then going forward that 361 gap against the projected forecasted fund balances we showed you as of 6/30/19.
Go ahead.
Do you want to?
Okay, so let me ask this question. And this is going off a little bit, but you are the finance manager, and you do know that we are looking for another DPU unit, which will help
Yes.
us take off the guns after we just had another shooting last night. So that is appropriate. It's $683,000 for another DPU unit this year alone. That's 3 times if we do the $555 million that they want for this tennis court. Do we have that? The additional $683,000 for 1 year?
We're not prepared to talk about the $2.5 million offer price. What we're doing is showing you based on what we're saying now is what we're saying we can't afford. Going forward, he will talk you through, with the rest of this agenda item, he will talk you through some of the other parts or considerations we'll have to look at in terms of doing our due diligence. And in agenda item number 8 talks through the resolution authorizing us to continue to negotiate.
The only thing
this
I
does
have-
not consider the $2.5
The
million.
only thing I have in front of me regarding the tennis courts, is $2.55 million.
Yes.
That's the only number I can go by. None of that is in front of me. None of that has been printed out and passed out to us. And you should know, I know the mayor and the deputy mayor know, because being the deputy mayor's been here since October of 2016. We don't move if we don't have the paperwork in front of us.
We understand that, Ms.
Well, we don't
Peterson.
have the paperwork in front of
I understand that.
us.
What we're doing here is telling you what we know. We
I
are
don't-
asking for permission in the resolution that will be in front of you later to negotiate and explore a purchase price.
What
If it's-
people have in order for them to go forward is not what somebody tells us, because somebody is so easily able to change that. It's what we have in documentation in front of us. It is nothing else. So I am going to go with that 2.5 million that I have read about.
Yes.
Madam Mayor, I am talking to Mr. Newsom.
Okay. I was just
You
going to
don't
add to
mind
the question.
moving out of the way so he can stand
I
there?
would be happy to do so. I'm happy for your courteous address to the office of the mayor. Thank you. All right. Do you want him to still address it? If not, then I'll address, I was going to add to it. All right, thank you.
You already stepped in, you already said you were
Thank
going
you.
to take over. Goodbye.
Thank you for your attention. All right. The 2.5 million that she brought up was in the offer to sell that was presented by the owner. So that's the only figure we have right now. That has not been negotiated, no due diligence has been done. The only reports we have is what Mr. Plasman was trying to tell you. So what we're asking the council to do later in the agenda, as I did explain, was a resolution saying whether you wanted us to go ahead and do the due diligence and do the negotiation and we comment right now. The only figure we have was what presented us to 2.5, okay? So, Ben, were you still continuing?
Yes.
Okay, please.
Well, they're out of time.
So, can we go to the next
Yeah, I'm
slide?
trying, yeah.
Yes. So one of the things we tried to do is there's potential for a consolidation of senior centers. And through a consolidation, as you can see, there might be a potential for a cost savings just because of the fact that one center is a little bit easier, depending on various circumstances, to manage as opposed to having two. And we broke it down based on the 3 different functions that all costs are categorized into for the 2 senior centers, and that is personnel services, supplies, and other services and charges. And we did this to show that through consolidation, there actually may be a cost savings with regards to maintenance, utility bills. Yes?
So your plan for the Hayes Jones is to consolidate that into a senior center?
That was one of the things that had been talked about.
The reason I asked that question is because the senior center is paid by a senior millage. And so if it's not, then we're talking about general fund dollars. So I just want to know where your calculations are coming from if you're talking about savings. So,
Well, we were talking about from the general fund, actually, but these are just, we're talking about, we're just doing a study primarily to see what the options are at this moment. It's not anything definitive as to say, like, we are doing this for sure. We're just presenting the options at the table.
So for clarity, anybody who can, the breakdown of this cost analysis with the saving for consolidating a senior center is that Hayes Jones would be that location of consolidation?
It's an option.
What that shows, okay. Don't read too much into this particular set of figures. Feasibility study. One of the things he said is there's several options and ways to handle this. That's the part that would come if we go ahead and move with some due diligence, because there's a number of ways to handle it. This is one way, and one of the things is that if he's showing the operating costs of the two senior centers, and if we were to combine that, and the seniors decided that they wanted to have this as a facility rather than one or two, both of the senior centers, those would be the operating costs that we would save, and then we would have to look at the operating costs of running this facility with or without the swimming pool. And those are figures that we'd have to get for you through the due diligence process. So we're just trying to get there. This is just to give you some idea of the financial prudency of making this kind of transaction.
So just so I'm clear, one option is to turn the Hayes Jones into a senior center.
To partially or completely to turn it into a senior center, but there's other feasibility, as you go through the rest of the feasibility study,
Well, see,
you will see there's additional ways of making this affordable. So you've heard one way.
Okay, one
There's
way is the
additional
senior
ways
center.
to
I'm
make
just trying to keep track, because we don't have
Yes.
the presentation in front of us, so I can't flip
No, you do
ahead
not.
to see if
No.
there's 5 options, 12 options, or whatever. I just want to make sure that I'm following along
Right.
succinctly. And so one option is to turn Hayes Jones into a senior citizen center.
To use it for senior citizens' activities, yes. So there's many different ways, and we're saying this is just the start of discussion. What I've heard is that, it may be feasible to do that if we don't have to operate the two senior centers, which both require a lot of capital improvement. Right now, they both need new roofs, at the cost of $300,000, that both need new parking lots. So the question before we do that capital investment in that, we want to know if instead we spend the money to acquire this, and then we have a newer, better senior center. And as you say, right now, they're just doing the feasibility. And there's some other things they would like to include in terms of your consideration. And that all goes into the study of how we do this capital purchase.
Okay.
You want to hear the rest of the conclusions?
Hold on, we got some questions. I just want to make sure.
I got a question for you,
Yeah, go
Mayor.
ahead.
Yes.
In this study, did you study also, did you go to Bowen Center and Ruth Peterson to get their approval, or would they like to move, or do they know anything about this? That they may
Yes, they
plan to
do.
move?
Yes, they do. And, this is, the seniors covers all the seniors in the city. Okay, not just the seniors who go to the club meetings or who currently utilize the facility. One of the things that we want to get more usage of that. So, but one of the things we did do to introduce them is that's why we did the white party, because we opened up the senior citizen facility, and we had many, many people, and I showed you the kind of interest we had in that. Many people, because we wanted the seniors to see what this had. Many of them hadn't been in it since it was Hayes Jones.
One other question.
So they hadn't seen the fact of all the improvements that have been made. The swimming pool is now open and operable. The beautifully manicured lawns, sitting out there on the veranda, seeing all the interior improvements that have been made. Mr. Massey is an architect with extreme vision, and it's a beautiful facility right now. So that is one of the options. I'm sorry.
did have another question
To continue on what the Council President asked me. Yes, to use it as a senior center is one way to do it. But also, in the past, it's also been used as a full community center. So those are just different options. And this is just some of the facts and figures that they've gathered together to help to guide your decision whether you want to move ahead with consideration of this purchase offer. Now, Mr. Massey has a time frame he wants to work on, right, Bill? Come on over here, Bill, so I might as well see you.
Well, before Bill get here, I just
Okay, what was your other question?
My second question is, what would you do with the Bowen Center and Ruth Peterson? What will happen to those buildings?
Depends on what the city decides, but we can sell them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody else got a question? Councilwoman Doris Taylor Burks.
Oh, thank you, Mr. President. Madam Mayor, right now I'm kind of confused, so I need you to clear something up for me. So,
can you talk to your microphone? I can barely hear you, Councilwoman.
Okay, can you hear me now?
That's better. Thank you.
Okay. Are you saying that if we purchase the facility, that it's gonna be a senior center, and you know, I'm really confused because I thought that we would be purchasing it for the instead of using that building out there across from the golf course, that the kids would have a nice, decent place to go, and it's a swimming pool there. Really, what really makes it nice. So because if you're gonna, I'm confused. Are you saying that you want to purchase it for the seniors and keep the building out there by the golf course too?
So that is one option. Okay, there's a number of different options, and we haven't started that discussion yet. So we want to get to that discussion, but we're just showing you the one I hear mentioned the most is to use it for in place of what's going on at the Bowen Center and the Ruth Peterson Center. Now, if we get through, I don't know how much of this, may I finish your question? May I just finish your question? In addition, if you get to the feasibility study, there's lots of other ways this building can be used, okay? Right now, some of the revenue we get from the senior centers is from people who are coming and renting it out for wakes, for birthday parties, for all kinds of events. And this place lends itself to that as well. So there's revenue that you can get. So that's part of the feasibility study. What other kinds of financial considerations by purchase of this facility? The other thing is that you can monetize certain aspects of it. You know, the swimming pool, if we can't afford to run it as a full swimming pool because of the cost and because of all the liability, then we can monetize it. There can be a fee for that. In addition to the fact that we have no place in the city right now to have community events, you know, other than we use the Bowen Center, but in places like that, or for people to have meetings, for people to have conferences. You know, we're all having to go outside the city and pay top dollar. This facility lends itself to that. So it has many purposes. And the confusion is don't be confused in that there has been a definite decision made. No, that's part of doing due diligence. That's a conversation we want to have. Yes. Sorry?
No, I didn't ever think that. I was just asking the question as to how, you know, how it was going to be used.
Sure.
And whether it was going to be, there would be two different facilities, one for the children and one for the community.
Yeah. Well, you know, it would require, given what we know now about the number of children who have been involved in the Youth Rec Center and the number of space that requires and the number of requirements from the state now to run a children's facility. You've heard the number 5,300. That's growing over there. We're glad so many children are now coming. How many children have been registered there? We have 274, 250 for this last week and a few weeks. We've had 250 children every day. So that means we have more children that are going to Pontiac Middle School right now. Okay, and that seems to be growing. Okay. So and it would require a lot of renovation to run a youth center over there because we need to do a gymnasium, we need to do classrooms, we need to do smart boards, all those sorts of things that we have available in the youth center right now.
Okay.
Okay.
Madam
So,
Mayor,
yes.
I just want to hear the options from the feasibility. We started off with 10 minutes for the presentation.
Right.
I just want to hear the options that you have as succinctly as possible. And then instead of waiting till item number 8, I want to bring up Mr. Massey and his team and give the whole presentation on what this is, so we're not bifurcating the information, so it can be as clear as possible on what they're asking for, what his timeline is, what they want to do. I just want to hear from the feasibility standpoint what things that you thought were going to be able to bring money into the city and make this a valuable piece of property for the city to consider to buy.
Well, once again, feasibility just says that we have enough revenue to purchase it and the kinds of things that might be a point of option. So it's not it's considered to be an exhaust study. We're just at the beginning of that discussion and of looking at those options. So the feasibility study that we did, the part you haven't heard yet are just some of the conclusions. So we want to finish that up in a couple of minutes.
So,
we keep
so
up
you're
the
telling
thing.
me,
Yeah.
Madam Mayor, you're telling
Yes.
me that you can't tell me the 4 or 5 things that you think that building should be used for before we authorize you guys to have due diligence. I'm just trying to get those as succinct as possible. One option is a senior center.
Yes.
Option number 2 is what? Option number 3 is what? Option number 4 is what? Option number 5 is what?
Okay.
And this is why we should do due diligence.
So the I've given you, as we've had this discussion, maybe 4 or 5 different options. But what you also have to realize that those options are not mutually exclusive. They're not mutually exclusive. So we talked about senior center usage, for substituting for one or both senior centers. That's 2 options. Number 1 is to also use it as a general community center, if it's a space allocation. We'd have to look at that in terms of space allocation. We have to also look at that in terms of how you use senior millage money. That's something that would have to come through the due diligence period. I've talked about using it for other kinds of events that people want to have in the city. And we mentioned the kinds of events that are going on right now at the Bowen Center. We don't have enough staff for all the people now who want to come and use the Bowen Center and the Ruth Peterson Center. I booked another event today, of a group that's coming in. You had an event there last week, the Black Votes Matter. You asked me to use the Bowen Center. So there's a lot of people who would come and use a facility like that, beautiful facility. We could use it for conferences. We could use it for meetings. We could use it for town halls. So those are options too. And then the other the options, and I'm saying these aren't all the ones that can exist. This is just what have come so far, just in the discussion we've had. But as I said, and the other issue is to monetize certain parts of it. Right now, he's charging, Mr. Massey runs it as a private tennis club, so it costs more than I want to pay to play tennis. But if we're going to continue this upkeep and keeping those tennis grass courts, we don't have to keep 25, but we may want to keep 2 or 3. And then we can monetize that if people want to come in and play tennis, or we can monetize the use of the swimming pool for groups that want to do, swimming events. So we have to look at the numbers. We have to look at the operating costs. We have to look at the cost to do all these things. We have to look at the other ramifications. So we need to get to that discussion. Right now, we're just talking feasibility. Okay? So he didn't finish the report. If you would like to hear, I think the conclusions are drawn through that, then he can finish that. And then if you want to do the resolution as well, then I'll have the rest of them come up and we can do that part of it as well.
I don't see why they're doing a report.
So-
They don't know what they're going to do with it.
Like the mayor said, there are options, and there are many considerations. This is the first part of the conclusions, and
Can you read that to us? Because I can't see it.
yeah, consolidate.
Surely can't see.
All right, consolidating senior centers into one facility presents the city of Pontiac with various cost-saving opportunities. Pending the successful completion of due diligence, the city of Pontiac may be able to receive a high-quality senior center at a lesser cost. This depends on the value of the other 2 senior centers, assuming that the city of Pontiac would sell them for a combined total that would be greater than the purchase of Hayes Jones. While we cannot draw a definitive conclusion until the due diligence process is completed, we can say with confidence that if purchased at market value, the city can purchase Hayes Jones without significant risk to future financial viability of the city of Pontiac. Next steps we have would be assessing. I think what we did was we looked at from the senior center perspective, and we said assessing the need and ability to sell both senior centers, understanding the impact on the fund balances, particularly 212, 101, and other future financial ramifications, which is on that chart previously. We also need to receive greater context regarding property value, including the assets that would potentially be included with this package. And we also need to investigate potentials for revenue, example, leasing for events, renting out the swimming pool, etc. The last part, and probably the most important part, is receiving council's approval for due diligence for the purchase of Hayes Jones.
Anybody got any questions? I had to turn down the...
Thank you. I guess, Mr. President, if I might, I know at our real estate subcommittee in the notes that we have, I asked some potential questions that needed to be addressed, and they were addressed if we read the various bullet points in here. But I would like to see a due diligence. I would like to see all the information put before us. I know that Mr. Massey might be under time constraints, but being that said, all of that information should have been put before us so we can do a comprehensive study and our due diligence as we move forward on the purchase of this property. I think it would be a tremendous asset to this community, but we need to have all information before us before I think we move forward on such a purchase of this magnitude.
Well, I concur, but I think that if we can get Mr. Massey to actually present to the public what it is, so there won't be any misinformation anyway, because I think that the city's not doing a good sales job for you, so I think you probably need to talk for yourself.
Thank you, Council President and Council. So what I thought we were talking about this evening is that we have put together a purchase agreement, which in the purchase agreement, my attorney has outlined that the mayor would have to sign the purchase agreement, then there would be X amount of time, and that's gone back and forth. I believe the city's attorney and my attorney have been discussing the length of time so that there is adequate due diligence in every way. But we do not feel like we can proceed forward without being able to have simply a purchase agreement in place to allow that to happen. Because if we were to do that, then there is I would say I'm saying these things publicly. I don't really feel so comfortable about doing it, but as I believe you know, and the subcommittee group knows as well, there is another buyer. I had said, actually, if you don't mind me recounting this, which is that I actually only spoke to the subcommittee meeting about the sale to the city because for a couple of reasons. One of which is not really very rational. It's more emotional, and I think that I would love to see it go back into the city's hand and be used as an incredible asset that it is. I never planned that. That wasn't the plan. But part of the reason that I thought about it was also because I had heard, and I don't know exactly the numbers, that the city was in the rears of 16 acres of MDNR property. This would allow the city to get closer to that goal. So I'm just putting it out there. So just for clarity's sake, this is really just about the mayor being able to get authorization from you, at least this is what I understand, this is what I believe, the mayor to get authorization to you just to go ahead and do due diligence. That doesn't mean that the deal would happen directly. That's the way I understand all of it.
Council President.
Yes, Attorney Sharp?
I sat in the real estate subcommittee, and so I guess I'm a little confused based off of what transpired from there and what I'm hearing today, and also the agreement that you had in your packet. The reason being, I just want to make sure that I'm clear. It was my understanding that Mr. Massey was presenting you a real estate purchase and sales agreement that would be good for 30 days. He did not require or is not requiring any money up front, and that was to allow the city to do due diligence during that time.
That is correct.
Mr. Massey was then seeking approval from the mayor as well as council so that therefore you guys could conduct your due diligence during that time. In the event that the city agreed, then you would then do a purchase shortly thereafter and close within 2 weeks. What I'm hearing today is something slightly different because what has been proposed to me is inconsistent with this purchase agreement. First of all, I'm hearing figures at the in terms of what the real estate value is, which is roughly $325,000, which is completely off from the $2 million mark. I get that no figures are in stone there. We don't have any figures, and the mayor has said that she'd like to negotiate that amount. But my point is, based off of what I'm hearing, it's inconsistent and you would not be able to enter into this agreement because of what is expected from this agreement should the city decide to purchase. There is no negotiating in terms of the figure with this. Not to say that that couldn't happen, but you need to have that clarity, that understanding with Mr. Massey before the fact. So I'm saying that what I'm hearing today in terms of the feasibility study and what needs to be done would not allow you to sign this agreement.
You're correct. Any purchased offer, any capital expenditure to the city requires due diligence of the city. Anytime we're spending taxpayers' money, there's certain things that the city has to do. So what you have in front of you is what was presented to you through the real estate subcommittee by the owner. The owner had a set price. If you sign that purchase agreement, it says you are agreeing to consider it at that price. So let me have you talk to our real estate attorney, Mr. George Contis, who could tell you where we stand in terms of how we want to address that offer.
Just one question, Madam Mayor. One question before you put him forward. My question is, have you had the discussion with Mr. Massey? Is he in agreement with deviating then from what the original proposal was?
We'll find out. That's what negotiation's all about.
No, right now, I'm saying, is that Mr. Massey's understanding?
Let me let Mr. Contis speak to what the city's position.
Not the city, Mr. Massey.
Council President, members of the council, I'm George Contis. I'm with Gianmarco Mullins and Horton, and I'm the chair of the real estate practice group at the firm, and I have assisted the mayor and members of the administration with respect to real property matters concerning the city over the last 18 to 20 months. We are in receipt of this purchase agreement. It has not been negotiated, not one iota. We haven't put any effort into discussing revisions as to purchase price, due diligence period, etc., because it would be inappropriate at this time. All we are seeking is approval from the council for the mayor and administration through us to enter into negotiations relative to matters of due diligence, etc. One of the most important things that we need to determine, notwithstanding the feasibility, is an appropriate purchase price. We need appraisals. We need to do phase 1, phase 2, and a baseline environmental site assessment. And these are things that are not done by council, they're done by third-party vendors. We need title insurance. We need a title insurance commitment. All of these things take time, and they take effort, and they take money. And I cannot in good conscience recommend to this council or to any of my clients that they proceed and sign a purchase agreement binding themselves to something with an escape clause until they're aware of all the facts and circumstances and until we have thoroughly vetted the appropriateness of the transaction. And in that regard, we will proceed as quickly and diligently as we can, but we are hostage to the time parameters established by our third-party vendors that if you determine that it is appropriate to move forward, for us to obtain all the requisite due diligence necessary to even present a counteroffer or enter into negotiations with Mr. Massey and his counsel.
I don't disagree with anything that you're saying. What I'm saying to you is I just want to hear from Mr. Massey that he's definitely on board with the now subsequent position of the city. So is he in agreement with how the city now wants to proceed in terms of, because I know he had a time frame, but like I said, I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying. I just want to make sure that all the parties are on the same page.
Well, I can't speak to what Mr. Massey said. I can attest to what Paul Thurston, my partner, with all due respect, if I may answer, with Paul Thurston, my partner, who entered into the original email discussions with Mr. Massey's counsel and advised Mr. Massey's counsel that there are certain time parameters through which we need to operate on behalf of the city. And my response from Mr. Thurston is, he acknowledged that we had to do this, but I never received a comment from him as to the appropriateness of moving forward in that regard.
Okay, hold on, before you bring up the mayor, because we were in the real estate subcommittee. We left the real estate subcommittee with one understanding. Tonight, there is a different understanding, period. And I guess my question would be, if you guys are going to negotiate a price, then that needs to happen before the due diligence clock starts with this agreement. The reason I say that is if you go to page 3, if you go to page 3, it says to execute the seller or purchaser before August 7th, right? Then you skip down to section 2.1, it says $2.55 million. What I'm saying to you is if the price that you guys come up with to bring to the council, because the council cannot negotiate on behalf of the city. We just have to either agree yes or no to the deal, whatever comes back to us. What I'm saying to you is before we start a clock ticking on the due diligence, because you haven't given us a timeline of how long your due diligence needs to be as part of the city. And so Mr. Massey's understanding that he gave to the council and the real estate subcommittee says this offer will be good for approximately 45 days. That's bullet point number 3 from the real estate discussion. All I'm saying to you is, for clarity, the conversations that you guys are working on need to be almost done before you come back to us, because you're asking us for authorization of something that would lock us in my opinion, to either accepting this or not accepting it at the number that it's at. And so if there's a difference in that, we don't have any documentation to support it. What I'm saying to you is that might be the understanding. The packet in which is presented to us has these particular numbers in the packet. And so if we were to sign a resolution to say that the mayor is going to do due diligence with this packet attached, the understanding is everything that follows that resolution is what the understanding of the city council was. If it was not supposed to be as such, then we would just have the resolution without the supplemental documents that says that this is part of the packet. So just for clarity, it needs to be spelled out to the city council, and I would ask that we bring this back next week with a clearer understanding of everything that's there, because I see that you guys are determined not to let Mr. Massey speak on his own behalf. Listen, because he would have came up. Hold on, I don't want to have another 20 minutes of you guys trying to say this is the reason that he's not going to speak. Clearly, strategically, there's a reason that you guys are approaching it the way you're approaching it. I'm fine with that. What I'm saying is, as a council person, I just need the documentation that shows that you guys, between lawyers, worked it out to have an agreement that says we can do our due diligence to move forward. So I don't know what the behind-the-scenes Monday morning playbook is. All I'm saying is we need to get the updated playbook in order to go forward for you guys.
I'd like to say something, Council President. And I understand you're a lawyer, but I think you need to understand, and I don't know why the administration doesn't get this. I do nothing without documentation. You're asking us to approve something that we haven't seen. Second of all, and my colleague, Councilwoman Pila, we have our differences. There's a lot of things we disagree on. But I have to go with her on this one. Right now, we got a lot of murders in the city, and we need more police officers on the street. If that was cripple our budget, I think that money should go to that. I think the Bowen Center's okay. We get a new roof, we do whatever we do, because it is taxpayers' money being paid for it. And that's just my opinion on it. I just feel like, you know, the Perry Street project, I want to go into it, that was not done right. I got duped on that, and I looked at the documentation, so I'm definitely not going to do anything with documentation. That's for me as Councilperson Miller. That's where I'm at right now with that. I was in the subcommittee, and that wasn't, none of this what I'm hearing was not spoken, none of it.
Mr. President, may I respond to Councilperson Miller?
Sure.
Please.
Yes, go ahead.
Councilperson Miller, again, I was not present at the subcommittee meeting. The reality is, this purchase agreement has not been negotiated. Respectfully, as counsel for the city, you may not rely on it one iota, because it does not contain any of our suggested revisions. It doesn't contain anything. All we want, or all the administration wants at this point, is authorization from council to move forward so that we can negotiate something and come back to council that we may discuss a legitimate, closely negotiated purchase agreement in closed session where we can frankly and openly discuss the nuances associated with the purchase, answer appropriate questions, and then convene into an open session, and then you may respectfully decide whether to accept or reject an authorization to proceed with the purchase.
Okay, I see your hand, Councilwoman Doris Taylor-Burke. I just don't want to miss this. Why can't we have a resolution that says just that?
Right.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's just a resolution that would state that you authorize the mayor to enter into a due diligence period, whatever that period would be. Then potential discussions would come to the city council for a closed session to further with a purchase agreement.
With no numbers.
With no numbers.
Right. And
But it would give a time frame.
But we have to have a time frame. So that's what I'm saying. They need to work that out for next week is my thoughts. Councilwoman Doris Taylor-Burke?
Thank you, Mr. President. I think that would work out fine, because this is something that I would me personally, would really like to see happen. Because you go to other cities, even just go across the street to Auburn Hills, they have one facility for different things. And I have been hoping and praying for us to be able to find a building that we could do the same thing, because to me, it just doesn't make good sense to have two separate senior centers. It just doesn't. To me, that's only my opinion. So, you know, I personally would like to see this go forward if we could possibly come up with a good negotiation, because I think it would be good for the total city, because you know, like we get invited to other cities and they have one facility where you can have meetings or what conference or whatever. We don't have that here. You know, the only thing we can do is offer somebody to either go to Ruth Peterson or to the Bowen Center, you know. So I'm hoping that something can be worked out.
Okay. Anybody else on council?
Council President, if I could respond to Dr. Taylor-Burks?
Yeah.
And generally to what everyone is saying, I really appreciate everyone's consideration on this. Obviously, my partner, George, is recommending a different process than what was initially proposed by Mr. Massey. But what's made very clear here by the proposition of Mr. Massey is that time is of the essence to him. And so, as George had noted, as we move forward, we're held hostage by a lot of different vendors that we need to use to conduct due diligence, including environmental assessors, the architects or the engineers that are going to review the condition of the building and the safety of the pool, and review all of the parcels and get our title insurance, things of those nature. And so, to the extent that this is a issue or time is of the essence for Mr. Massey, I'd really ask that you guys consider it this evening with an understanding that this council is not locked in any way
into any considerations until we talk further in the closed session and we tell you what we find, because we find these real estate deals to be very fluid, and it can be as easy as an environmental report that comes back and stops the whole deal because things are found on parcels that we deem them unsuitable, for example, that there isn't good title to one of the properties, for example. And so we need to start those processes to determine where this property sits and how we can move forward in a time frame that comports with Mr. Massey's time frame.
Attorney Chubb, it's the city that's asking for more time. Mr. Massey has been really clear on what his timeline is. Hold on. We're going to give the city more time, but we have to have the proper resolution. So I don't know why we're belaboring the point. Clearly, there's no report in our packet. You guys didn't even take the common courtesy to put the feasibility study for the Hayes-Jones in our packet. There are several things that I've glossed over today just because I know that this is an opportunity for the city, and I want to hear from the citizens one way or another if they want to have Hayes-Jones or not, because it was offered to us. What's not mentioned, though, is Mr. Massey is offering this property for the city as first right of refusal. If we were to enter into the agreement that he talked about at the real estate, nobody else would be able to purchase at that time. What I'm saying to you is if you've got new clauses, new things that need to be in there to protect the city, I'm fine with that. But they need to be spelled out. It needs to be clear on what we're voting on for next week. So it's not an issue of we don't believe in the fluidity of real estate deals. But we have had bad deals in the city of Pontiac before. The airport in Waterford was sold for the Lafayette Grand, which we don't own anymore. I will not be responsible as a council person for doing that. So if you guys can come back next week with the things that are executed, we'll let the mayor do whatever due diligence she needs to do to get a good deal for the city.
What was presented to the real estate committee was Mr. Massey presented the price he wanted, $2.5 million, and said we had to sign it by July 31st. There is no deal for protection of the city that we can assign a deal at a price that we have had no chance to have any due diligence about and sign it by a certain date. It was given to the real estate subcommittee July 22nd. The first version of that was he wanted it all signed by July 31st. That would have bound us to a price of $2.5 million. What we're saying, Council, is that we're trying to move quickly according to what Mr. Massey has asked. But we need for the defense of the city to look at the price, to look at the due diligence. We can't set a price until we've done the due diligence. So we've got to see where the cart is. Don't put the cart in front of the horse. So we need to have this resolution passed. And the resolution says that we have a chance to look at the terms, do the due diligence, and then come back to you with what we have found. We're trying to work within the time frame that Mr. Massey has said he wanted to work.
Councilwoman Miller. Waterman. Councilwoman Peeler, then Councilwoman Waterman.
Madam Mayor, you put pressure on us on a regular basis. You just said that the subcommittee met July 22nd. Today is August the 6th.
That's right.
You have, and your attorneys, the city attorneys, have sent us in memorandums of things we need to address, things we need to pay attention to. We have gotten nothing regarding the Hayes-Jones Center.
Zero.
So because you're sitting here in front of us with the TV cameras on, paying attention to what's going on, you are going to turn around and bring it to us as due diligence. We're lucky they wanted to settle on the 31st of July, but they let us have an opportunity. So now you have to vote on it. I'm sorry, my vote is no.
I concur with you, Mayor.
Councilwoman Waterman.
Thank you.
Mr. President, as we stated before and as our council has just said, I can't see why this is just so hard. I think this is really can be taken care of, understand, if we just do a resolution to tell you to do the due diligence. Bring that back to us next week. We can go into a closed session. If you sit there and you have some things that you need to negotiate, you got a week to do your negotiation. Have that in that closed session with us on Monday. We can vote it up or we vote it down. But it's just not that hard. Just pass the resolution stating that you want us to do the due diligence. It's not that hard. But not this junk you have before us right now, all this other stuff. Make what did you say the resolution should be?
Just Just to state
Just
the
the time
timeline in terms of when you guys are going to meet to go into closed session to discuss a price.
Right. It's
That's
it. It's simple. Don't make it any harder than what it has to be.
Because quite frankly, I mean, I'm not trying to belabor the point, but the agreement that was set forth was non-binding.
I understand. I was there and I know the whole facts of what's going on. This is what we need to do. If not, it's going to be voted down, it's going to be gone. So, Mr. Massey, however you want to do this, however you want to slice this bread, this I think is the best way to do it, is to do that resolution, and next week we'll go into closed session. You can have whatever numbers you think you should be in and tell us what timeline, what you think, and if you don't think that it could be, then it can't be. It's just that simple. It can't be. I'm done.
Okay,
We belabored this long
So
enough.
I need a motion to suspend the rules so we can move item number 8 till next week till we get a new resolution. Or do we need to vote just down?
Just vote it down.
Do anything.
Oh, we don't need to do anything?
Just resolution come back.
You can just bring it back next week.
Just bring it back next week, just like we have
The
the,
resolution is in your packet that Councilwoman.
we don't need to go with that
Waterman just
resolution.
spoke about. It's in your packet.
We're not going with that
Madam Mayor,
resolution.
clearly you haven't been recognized. I'm
She's
just,
not paying attention.
so, that brings us to item,
Council President, you need to say that you're going to bring it back next week.
I know, well, we haven't got to it, so we didn't move it up, so.
Okay, you didn't move it.
So we're on item number 6 right now, so we'll just deal with that when we get to item number 8.
Lord have mercy.
Good Lord in heaven. You better be thankful and love.
Thank you. I mean,
No, that's not it. It's right there under 8, item 8.
it doesn't have to be that hard.
Okay.
Item number 6 is the youth summit. I'm going to delay this presentation for another time because it was, we did send 2 youth to the youth summit sponsored by the U.S. Conference of Mayors.
So can you bring it back in 2 weeks?
So we were going to bring them back to do the report. They represent the city so well, and we're with a number of other youth around the country. So we'll bring that back due to the time that we have today, so we can move forward with the agenda.
All right, thank you. Item number 7, which is adoption of an ordinance to allow redevelopment liquor licenses and the condition for issuance and operations. Madam Deputy.
Thank you, Councilmember, or Council President. We have brought this to you. You have requested that we bring this back. We do have our city planner here as well to answer any questions that you may have. We've given you several reports on this. How do you wish for us to proceed?
Okay, I would like Mr. Gustafson to come up. I did get the advantage of going to Grand Rapids this week, and they're using this particular thing, and I think it can be a good catalyst for the city. But I did want to make sure that all the questions that people had about it were answered. So you can allow Mr. Gustafson to speak. That would be great.
Mr. Gustafson.
Thank you. Good evening, Council President, Council, and Madam Mayor. As before you, what we call the Bistro or redevelopment ordinance would allow for a certain class of liquor sales within just the downtown area. It was crafted in a way that does reflect on the current state license, and it does make certain requirements as relates to the amount of renovations and rehabilitation that occurs within each facility of where the building would be, or the bistro license would be. It also requires certain establishments in regards to protocol, in regards to serving of food. It also gets into regards to the number of seats within the facility, and also it does provide an ordinance in a way that allows that request to come to the city council before any approvals.
Okay, anybody got any questions? Councilwoman Peeler.
I do. Because I understand that there's been some conversation and some disapproval, because it may be that there are going to be bistro tables outside that will prohibit people from moving in wheelchairs and walkers and such. Can you verify yes or no?
No, there will not be any prohibited type of activity such as width of walkways, impediments between what could be established as part of this bistro area outside, as relates to parking meters, signage, and all of that. Because it does relate, because we do have in the books, as you know, on our zoning ordinance, does have outdoor cafes that is very stringent and restrictive in regards to where these outdoor seatings would be located.
Okay, so the bistro license will not bring any more traffic to
No.
Imperial?
Well,
Thank you.
it would not inhibit any traffic from moving freely up and down the sidewalk.
Thank you. That's what we needed to know.
Okay?
I have no other questions, Mr. President.
So my question, Mr. Gustafson, is in other places, well, maybe you're probably not the, I don't know who could answer it, maybe it's the deputy mayor. What kind of economic impact does these things create for downtowns?
I couldn't say I can actually give a dollar value, but what I can do is it does provide a different type of service to businesses that have been, say, strictly just food and entertainment and recreation that would like to potentially offer a different variety of services into the community. And so with that being said, it does provide an economic impact. What dollar value, I couldn't really tell you. But maybe Jane does.
No, we'd have to do the dollar value, but what I can tell you is this. I've obviously worked in other communities, and I've worked with bistro licenses, and I can tell you that it has improved the economics in terms of of a downtown. You'll see more businesses come to the downtown area. You'll see more individuals come to our city to utilize new restaurants that could potentially come in, things of that nature. So it's been very positive in other cities that I've worked in. You'll also see, because part of the bistro license requirement is that the business make certain level of improvements, dollar level of improvements, as the planning manager has explained. So in order to be able to obtain one of these bistro licenses, they need to make certain number of investments, and I don't know if you can address that, but $75,000. So at least, in order for them to be eligible to get a bistro license, they have to at least make $75,000 worth of improvements to their business in the downtown area. So I can attest that in other communities that I've worked in, and I'm glad I've not worked in Grand Rapids, but I know what you're talking about, and this has helped Grand Rapids because they're one of the communities that also initiated this, and it has helped, and it has worked, and has helped revitalize the downtown.
Okay. Thank you. Is there a motion?
I move.
Support.
All right, it's been moved and supported. Any other city council discussion?
You got any questions?
Seeing none, roll call.
Miller stepped away. Petola.
Yes.
Taylor Burks.
Yes.
Waterman.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes. Adoption of ordinance to allow redevelopment liquor license and condition for issuance and operations passes. Congratulations,
Yeah.
Bistro people.
Thank you very much.
All right, which brings us to item number 8. Is there a motion to defer for 1 week?
Yes.
For item number 8, is there a motion?
Council President, if I may address this briefly.
Attorney Chubb, very
Again,
briefly.
On item number 8, the actual resolution that's the first page behind what says Resolution 8 is what we're asking for, and it's exactly what Councilwoman Waterman asked for. It says, "Now therefore it is resolved that the mayor is hereby authorized to conduct preliminary due diligence regarding the potential purchase of 235 Weston Street and negotiate terms and condition of sale." And that is exactly what you referenced. It allows us to get started today, and what I would recommend is that we would then put a closed session on the agenda for 2 weeks from today so that we can tell you the progress we've made with Mr. Massey and the potential calendar for moving forward to get this deal done and determine the condition of the property.
Yeah, it's missing one critical part, which is a timeline for this to happen. So I'm going to ask that it be deferred for 1 week. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there support? To defer for Hayes Jones? Okay, it's been moved and supported. Any city council discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Petola.
Yes.
Taylor Burks.
Yes.
Waterman.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes. I'm going to ask that we skipped items number 9, 10, and 11 to next week.
Thank you.
And then just go to public comments.
Yes.
There you go.
Mr. President, the first person for public comments is Mr. Lloyd.
How many do we have?
Well, members of the council, I apologize for not having my name on the paperwork. But I've been at this for like 5 years. And the individual in question says he owns the property over by the lake. Y'all have a copy of it. So what I'm asking is, can you take down the no trespassing signs, open up a spot where everybody and the brother can go back there besides getting run off? He's told people he owns the property. He's told people not to come around the property. He's got target spots on the trees. I mean, he's got big dogs running around the yard. He mows it. He takes care of it. And he says he owns it. And he don't. It's city property, period. I've asked and talked and asked, and everybody said the same thing. And young and old, they all do the same thing. He runs them off. He blocks up. He cuts down the trees on the opposite side all the time to block up the spots to where you can't get in. And he runs people off. He torments them. And then one year, about 5 years ago, me and my son was walking. The only reason I'm raising a big stink is because me and my son was walking back there, and he had his rifle in his hand, came down and asked me what we're doing. And I said, what? And then I said, it's in the police report. I got the police report. I got to get the police report because the lawyer told me to get one, so I got to get one of those before long. Then I had 22 squad cars there. They went up and knocked on the door, and he wasn't home. And they said, what are you doing back there raising hell anyhow? I go, we wasn't. And I said, if I was doing anything, why didn't you arrest me already? But they didn't. And I go back there every now and then. He runs me off, and they do it again. And he runs off young, old. He blocks up everything, says it's his. I'm just asking, can you all take down the no trespassing signs and tell the guy to lay off other people that want to go back there, go fishing, walk around, do whatever, blah, blah.
John, this is off of Kennett Road, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I know where it is.
The individual has he had no copies of the paperwork for clear the woods, no nothing, by the Forestry Service.
I know what you're talking about. John's going to do the research on it. He's already been notified. He's got my copy, as you know. And I do know which property that is.
Could you imagine how much money that is if he owns all that for that Front Lake property? Jesus Christ, that's a lot of money.
He owns it all.
I mean, one year he shot holes in the boat. All right, boss, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next is Miss Sherry Scott.
Good evening. I'm just here to clear up something that was mentioned a couple of weeks ago by the city clerk. And he read what he was supposed to read, but it was the wrong information. And it's about licensing of the animals. It will be, but you'll have ample time to get your licenses. They won't come August 1st knocking on your door asking if you have a license or not. When the Animal Care Network and myself, we had so many calls about it, but believe me, you will have ample time to get your licenses. We're toying with the idea of maybe a couple days per week you'll have a chance, or maybe something that Commissioner Angie is going to do. We'll have a table there for you, but you won't have to wait until the Animal Care Network's shot clinic to get your licenses. But there will be plenty of time. So please don't worry. and don't call me anymore. And just know that the information that our city clerk read was correct, but it was just the wrong information for our city. So I hope that's all cleared up now with everybody watching. And in the last few minutes, I would just like to invite you all to celebrate with me my 14th anniversary for my kidney transplant. It's been 14 years.
Great thing.
Thank you.
Next is Mr. Tim Travis.
I thought I would be here to lighten up the tone of a council meeting. There's certain levels of entertainment coming to here, but I do want to say I was prepared to have another conversation, but because your vote went through in the Bistro, I think what you just did is made history. You made the single most important decision tonight for the future of the city. And I know this was a tough thing for you to do, and everybody has their opinions, but I think you're going to see a resurgence of downtown traffic and visibility to a whole new crowd of people that want to support Pontiac and downtown. And I encourage all of you to do the same. You need to go to Fillmore, you need to go to Alley Cat, you need to go to the restaurants down there and support them. They're really struggling. Like, if this vote didn't go through, they probably won't be here next year. But because you did that, it's the start of a new beginning for downtown Pontiac. Thank you for doing that. I'm a longtime business in Pontiac, and I support businesses and the community in so many ways, and it's good to see that you're doing the same. Thank you for that. On a lighter note, we are having our 4th annual Bad Movie Night. It is the last, or the lost skeleton of Cadavra. It's got to be a documentary. So the movie is so bad it's good. And we are going to be showing it in the amphitheater at Golden Wash, or if it rains, in one of our greenhouses. This event is so much fun, and it takes your mind off of everything around you, but definitely come. It's $10, cheap date night. We will have concessions for sale. You can bring certain beverages if you want. But it's a lot of fun. It's a gathering place, and I open it to the community. And we should all be smiling now. Thank you.
Next, we have Mr. Labardi.
I'm here on behalf of the children in my neighborhood because of the golf course next door, Crystal Lake, keeps shooting golf balls over at our neighborhood. I've been coming here for, 2 months now, and I start that. The kids, you know. This ain't about me. This is about the kids in the neighborhood. I realize that Mrs. Waterman's been doing what she can with meetings with the guy. But when it comes to kids, there's no boundaries. There's no districts, okay? It takes everybody to make that guy do what he needs to do to put up a net. Because he ain't doing it, because the balls are still coming over, okay? She's tried twice to talk to the guy with pictures, which the guy knows, you know, how the damage is. He was sued before. He's a liar. You know, $3,000 for the nets and materials? No. You know, $1,000? No. You know, I priced it. You know, there ain't no $100,000 for those nets. You guys come up with the polls like DTE, volunteer, like I heard. You know, he might pay $40,000, $50,000. That guy makes that in a week, easy. That parking lot's full every day that it's nice out. Every day it's full. $3,000 a head a season, he's got the money to do this. He's stalling. something's got to be done here before a kid gets hit. You know, she's out there Sunday in the heat asking people, you know, what's going on. I'm sure she got the questions and the answers that she needed, you know. Golf balls are flying over there for years, and he's known it all the time. He's known it. And he just doesn't care. Maybe he doesn't live in the city. I don't know. You know? Yeah, he brings in a lot of money. But, you know, the kids come first. That's what's really important. And I hope to just, you know, I'll just do something. I know you don't want to listen to me by calling the news, you know? And it surprises me that they don't want to get involved with this. You know, it really does. It's kind of shameful, actually, you know? Please, all of you, you know, not just her. It's going to take all of you to get this guy to do something. Please do it. Appreciate it.
Thanks. That's not, Mr. President, I will discuss this more with you all as it relates to that. But next, Quincy Stewart, but I don't see Quincy here. Next is Mr. Chuck Johnson.
Thank you very much. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, those of you in the audience and those of you at home watching by television. I was going to speak on the dogs. Folks, you have to be mindful that when you're walking your pet, that's like you walk on that concrete is hot. That's like you walking barefoot on concrete, and that animal gets the same effect. So pick him up or put him in the grass or whatever, help him out as you're walking. I want Gloria and Kermit to keep two words in mind: slander and defamation. 2 weeks ago, I was escorted out of this room again, and for no good reason. I was accused of threatening Gloria, and it was a blatant lie, and I have documented proof. So I decided I'd go out and see the judge and find out if I can get this terminated. So the officer, lieutenant, come over and he asked me what was happening with her PPO. I said it was terminated by the judge because it was all lies, and I took documented proof to them, and they looked at it. And you have to be mindful, like I am, of what you say up there. You defamed me, and you lied on me, and I'm gonna follow that through. Further, this got so ugly that her husband, and I didn't even know it, was sitting here in the audience with a gun on him. Now, I don't know if he had intent to shoot me or threaten me or whatever, but when we got outside at the door, he made his play for his gun, okay? So the police officer went over and checked him, found out that he didn't have a valid gun permit. So I decided I'd go and get a PPO out on him, which I did. So I don't know what's going to become of his problem with no valid license to carry a gun, but there's no need for anybody to come in this chamber with a gun on. I don't see any reason why, but if that's what your desire is, except for the fellas in brown, I mean, they gonna have theirs on. But I'm not gonna stand by and allow anybody to defame me in public or call me a liar in public, and I know I'm telling the truth. Now, I'm going to finish up next week with the rest of my comment on this same issue until I'm done with it. So be mindful that you'll be hearing from me again. Thank you.
Next, we have Miss Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Council. I'll withdraw.
Okay. Next, we have Mr. Kenny Anderson.
Good evening, and the struggle for black democratic human rights continues. The topic of my address this evening is America has been racist. Don't blame Donald Trump. I'll begin my remarks this evening with a question answer. Is President Donald Trump racist? To me, absolutely. With my personal answer provided, let me address the main points of my subject. Since the election of Donald Trump in 2016, coupled with the recent mass murders in El Paso, Texas, and Dayton, Ohio, white liberals are blaming, scapegoating Trump for causing racial tensions in America. In other words, America, founded on white supremacy that established institutional racism, is not racist. It is Trump who's causing racism from the White House. Somehow, all the other white presidents weren't racist. Let me say this matter-of-factly. Every one of the white presidents who sat in the White House, Republicans and Democrats, were racist. All 44 of them. The only president that wasn't racist was Obama. He was black. 12 white presidents owned slaves. From the middle 1860s to the 1960s, 100 years, thousands of blacks were lynched. White presidents did little or nothing to address massive black lynchings. Just last year, 2018, the U.S. government finally passed its first anti-lynching law after the Senate approved legislation. Previously, lynching had been treated as a civil rights violation. It took the American government 155 years to pass an anti-lynching bill. Let me say this about Trump racistly detaining Latino illegal immigrants. This ain't nothing new. During Ronald Reagan's presidency, he passed specific immigration policy where black Haitians were stopped in the waters trying to immigrate to the U.S. Many drowned, and many were detained in inhuman conditions. Have we forgotten President George Bush Jr.'s U.S. patriotic policy, where thousands of U.S. Muslims were rounded up, detained, tortured, and many disappeared, never to be seen again? I want to say this about the two white males who committed mass murders in El Paso and Dayton. Their racist killings had nothing to do with Trump. It has everything to do with a 2015 demographic report authored by former U.S. Census Bureau Director Kenneth Pruitt, who cited that whites will be a minority by 2044. Indeed, whites have a fear of not being the majority, losing power and privilege. To many white males, this report was a call to arms. The struggle continues.
Next is Miss April Ogg.
Okay, thank you, Council, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Mr. and Mrs. Pontiac out there. Okay. I'm April Ogg. I own Saginaw Street Consignments. I'm at 150 North Saginaw Street. And first, I'd like to thank Patrice Waterman, District 1, for giving me the Pride and Beautification Award. Thank you very much. Secondly, this Saturday, I'm going to be closed. And I'd like to please announce that I'm on my next phase of my business downtown, and I'm doing estate sales. I'm having my first one this weekend. It is a Pontiac home. Please look, I have purple and white signs. They're going to be located by Ottawa Street. If you want to go on estatesales.net, I have uploaded for a Pontiac sale some photographs in that of this lovely home and all the wonderful items you can come and purchase. That's the first thing, okay? And then next, I'd like to also thank Done Right Sign for making them awesome and getting them done the way I wanted. So support our local businesses, please. Yep. And next, I'd like to have some help for these trucks. I'm not quite sure who calls out for the weights and measures, but if you go online, downtown is for axle weight 6 tons, okay? There's only Huron Street that should allow commercial trucks to go through. So an average car is 1.5 tons. A standard truck is 3, ambulance is 5 tons, and so a delivery truck like a UPS or something like that is 6 tons. I consistently have my building shook and major construction
well over 6 tons, maybe 20 tons, coming through the front from the north side, coming down because they're too lazy to go on wide track and cut through to Huron Street. It's very dangerous, and after 3 o'clock when Lafayette is closed, coming from 59, going up, the Foreman trucks and all the other trucks never stop at the stop signs, and they're honking because they're moving through that red light at Lafayette. They're not stopping. So I'm not quite sure who to call to get this weight and measure, but I'm reaching out to those of you who are supposed to be doing that. Okay. And thanks for voting for the licenses, approving the Bistro, because it definitely does bring and give an opportunity for a whole new different group of people coming down, like when we had all the galleries, so it'll be definitely wonderful. Thank you, I'm April, and I have Saginaw Street consignments, and I can turn your money into cash. Thank you.
Thank you, April.
Next, we have Miss Mary Evans.
Mary's gone. Yeah, she needed to be called first.
Is Marcia? Marcia?
Hello, my name is Marcia Easley, and I am the founder, president, CEO of an organization called Inspirational Spectrum Heroes. What my organization or foundation does, we're a newly formed 501c3 organization, and what we do is bring community awareness and also hope, inspiration, job opportunities, social opportunities for individuals and families affected by autism. The autism is very close to my heart. My son attended school through the Pontiac School District from the age of 4 all the way up to 26, because you know in Pontiac, special needs can go to school to their 26. So what I'm doing, the reason I'm here is that I'm hosting a 5K walk at Wisner Stadium, September 14th, from 10 o'clock to 1 o'clock. And I just want to let the community know that I'm out here, that we're out here. Pontiac has a very big autism community, and people might not even know that. And since I started this, there are a lot of people who have been asking me questions. I am not the expert. I have had 20 plus years in the autism field, but I want everybody to know to come out, make a community event. I have vendors lined up. I have speakers. I briefly talked to the mayor about it, and then she said if her schedule permits, she would be there. And I just want the council to know, and I want to get the blessings of the council on this event. I also want to ask, I don't know at what point I can use, like when I do my new flyer, the council or the Pontiac or the mayor's name on my new flyer, just as showing that we have the support. So I don't know how that works, because I'm very new at this. I'm very excited about this. I just got back from California last week. I go to Holly Robinson Pete and Rodney Pete's autism events. I've been volunteering for them for 6 years. I go to Reva Martin's autism event. Out there in California, they are doing amazing things in the autism community, and I want us to do stuff here too. I said, why can't we do this here in Michigan? In Pontiac, the underserved areas is what they serve, and that's what I want to do. It's a lot going on. My son, when he was there, he was able to be bused to Birmingham. He was through the Pontiac School District, but back then they were busing our kids to Birmingham. So I know there are a lot of good hidden resources out there that we need to bring, because Birmingham has it going on. We need to bring those stuff to Pontiac, and I want everybody to let everybody know that those things are out there. There are lots of resources. I'm going to have lots of vendors from the mental health field there to bring lots of documentation and giveaways there. So my main thing, because I'm running out of time, because I could talk about this forever, because it's so close to my heart, and I'm very passionate about it. But you know, I just want to know what can I do as far as the city support or being able to advertise that the city is supporting my event. Thank you.
All right, we would just have to pass a resolution for you. So if you can get with Attorney Sharp sometime this week, she'll tell you like the protocol for City Council.
Okay, how do I get in touch with her? I mean, you said this week, but what's the number I can call? Or
Just come over here.
Okay, thank you.
Next is Mr. James Johnson.
Good evening, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Council President, for allowing me to address the body. Good evening, Pontiac.
Exciting times here in Pontiac here with the Dream Cruise and Pontiac Power Week coming up. So I just want to give some updates on what all is going to be happening here in the city of Pontiac with Pontiac Power Week. Power Week starts out this weekend, Saturday. That's going to be August the 10th with Roadkill powered by Dodge. One of the great things is that the entry fee has been reduced for Pontiac residents. It's only $5 where you can come out, have a great time, and see drag racing right there on Woodward. Excuse me. Sunday, August the 11th, we have the car show in the park at Oakland Park. That is returning after a few-year hiatus. That's always been a great time. August the 16th, for the first time in over 15 years, Saginaw Street will be open for the public, and we are having what is going to be known as the Pontiac Pit Stop downtown. So that will be open for all the patrons to come and see some of the local businesses that we've heard so much about. You can come out and enjoy it, so it's something that you can enjoy as a citizen, and for us to have an opportunity to showcase Pontiac. Saturday, August the 17th is the official Dream Cruise Day, and we will be having a family fun day downtown. This is going to feature not only a classic car show on Pike and Saginaw Street, there will be food trucks, inflatables, and other family funs. This is a festival that is absolutely free to the public, so please come out and enjoy that. And also on Saturday, the Hidden River Park Party will be taking place. Now, this is something new. It is a high-tech silent disco where you will actually be able to rent the headphones and things like that. There will be dueling DJs, so it'll be a heck of a time here. Also, in the mail, you will notice that you're going to be getting the parking permits for Roadkill for the residents who will be affected by any parking, because we want to make sure that not only is this enjoyable for our residents, but for guests, but also for our residents, and there's no confusion, so that's already been taken care of. So Pontiac, please come out and enjoy showcasing Pontiac with us this week here for Pontiac Power Week. Thank you so much.
Next, we have Vince D.
Vince out.
Vince, we're going to
Vince
say Vince. Say it.
Vince DeLeonardis.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay.
All right, so Vince is good, right?
Yes, Vince is good. So, good evening, City Council, Mayor, Deputy Mayor. I appreciate this opportunity to address you. Back when ALC was selected to act as your program construction manager, we talked about us ALC coming periodically to provide updates of the status of the project. So I think this was a good time to go ahead and read a letter that I had sent over to John Ballant regarding the status of the project. So to read that letter, it's just a note of how greatly we appreciate the opportunity that's been given to us by the city administration and city council to serve as your program and construction manager on the restoration of the Phoenix Center parking deck structure and amphitheater. During the time that we've been involved, we have learned how important the center is to the community, to the resurgence of the downtown area, while satisfying the city's commitment to the adjacent property owners. It was very helpful for our team to be part of and participate in the Phoenix Center visiting meetings to increase our understanding of how the renovation project could further the opportunities for the public and private partnerships that can result from having a solid infrastructure of the garage in place. The HED renderings captured the city's leaders' visions that were conveyed during these meetings and will support the continuing dialogue between the city leaders and the community on how to best meet the needs and desires of the community. Now, with the terms and conditions of our contract in place and approved, and along with approval of the final draft of the architect and engineer's RFP, we are currently awaiting authorization to proceed with the next step of advertising and releasing that AE RFP to those design professionals, so that we can be in a position to make a review recommendation to City Council of those contracts. This activity is probably one of the most important ones to ensure the success of the Phoenix Center project. Now, attached to the letter, I provided a timeline that showed the current status of the critical activities. Of the 22 activities that we showed leading up to the actual construction, 12 of them have been completed. So now we have 10 remaining. here of August 5th, okay, that we're approximately halfway through the time frame that we have for procuring the AE contracts. So now we're running into a potential delay that could affect the execution of the project in construction. So what we're making John aware of is that we now need to address this so that we can move this project forward. So that information was included. We have a timeline that we provided so that you can understand. So what we're just letting everyone know that God bless you.
Thank you.
That we're ready to release to the AEs. We've been generating interest in our project, and we just look forward to being able to move forward on the job. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Ms. Billy Swayzer.
Good evening, I'm Billy Swayzer. First thing I want to let everybody know is that the retirement system has sent out ballots to vote for the new trustee. Janice Gaffney resigned from the retirement system, so we're having an election. It'll accumulate on the ballots being tabulated on August 26th. I personally am supporting Linda Watson. Linda Watson worked for the city of Pontiac for almost 30 years. She started as a clerk typist, moved up. She became the deputy city assessor. She has certifications in property assessment, certification for 1, 2, and 3. No, that's real property assessment, and then personal property assessment with the state of Michigan. So Linda Watson is one of those people that come to the retirement meeting. She don't just come because today she got something of interest. She's been coming since June of 2005. So that's over 10 years and not being paid. She's a citizen that comes to see what's going on and to look out for all the fellow retirees' welfare. She's pretty sharp and she has a lot of questions that we answer. So what I want to do is have you take the time, if you got the ballot, make sure you go ahead, vote for Linda Watson, put it in, turn it in, follow the instructions, put the ballot in the proper envelope, then put it in the other envelope, print your name, sign it, and send it and put your stamp on it. Mail it back so every vote can count. As you know, it's only 15 months, I believe, until the next year's presidential election. We don't want to be like sometimes Pontiac is on elections and not vote. We want to go ahead, vote, and get the person that you desire in. Now, the next thing is Hayes Jones. That man bought it for $500. $500. And there was furniture and materials left in Hayes Jones. And that's what the emergency managers sold it to him for. Now he wants 5,000 times that price. $2.5 million. I think not. You know, I don't know what money the mayor sees because the finance people didn't speak of it. But we must have a lot of money sitting around somewhere, and good luck, because we're going to need it. Because that man is should not get $2.5 million for that rundown place. Bye.
Last is Pastor Kathy.
Good evening. I have two things. It has been brought to my attention that with the new absentee ballot laws, those of us who've been voting absentee for 100 years have to re-sign, and I'd like Garland to look into that and let us know if that is actually true. It doesn't make a lot of good sense. Seems like we're reinventing the wheel. The other thing, I wanted to thank Pastor Steve Hammond in the Boulevard Church of God. The District 5 held their first meeting there this past week. They have an amazing facility. And Pastor Kevin Saunders took a group of people around on a tour. Some of us are familiar with the building, but for those who hadn't been, there's a gymnasium there. There are multiple classrooms and 2 floors worth of all of this. There's also a professional kitchen and a dining hall, and it's a virtually unused facility that they would very much like the North End kids to be able to use. And so I'm putting that out in front of the council because he brought that up as something they would like to see come to fruition. It was really a very nice facility, and we appreciate that they've let us come there. Thank you.
Mr. President, that concludes public comments.
All right. Madam Mayor?
Good evening. Yes, I would like to start with Billy Swayzer left right after she spoke, but I would like to say I agree with you, Billy. When you have an offer to purchase for the city, we got to make sure we use the city's money prudently. So I agree. You don't sit down and just accept a bargain, a price that's given to you without due diligence, and that's what we want the council to do, to allow us to do due diligence. The next thing is on the board. I do have the banner that's on the Phoenix Center right now. You did have James Johnson for our staff come and talk to you about Pontiac Power Week, which is coming up, so he did give you a lot of the highlights. You know, Roadkill, Dream Cruise has been coming to Pontiac for many years. This is about the 23rd year, and we're part, as the city of Pontiac, of the coalition that sponsors that Dream Cruise event. So we have a second event that came up. We call the Roadkill, powered by Dodge, that is the weekend before on the Saturday, which is about 4 days from now. So that is something that brings in, at least last year, it brought in 40,000 visitors to the city of Pontiac, coming and seeing what's happening in Pontiac, all the new changes, and it compares favorably. So we hope we will be good hosts and welcome all the people who come from the city, as well as many of you who have been attending that event. And of course, the Pontiac Power Week has now grown to a full week with all the activities in between, as James Johnson has told you about, including something new this year called a silent disco party on that Saturday evening. The next, the next thing I would like to commemorate is the life of Clara White. Many of you recognize her. She was the founder and so much the mainstay of the Urban League in Pontiac for so many years. She was so well known as Miss Urban League that she was known as a living legacy by the National Urban League. So her funeral was this past Monday. Some people leave an indelible mark on the community, and Clara White was one of those. So I did get a chance to speak and give our sympathies on behalf of the city for all she has done as a living legend and as a community leader during her lifetime. And lastly, I would like to speak to you about something that I responded to today from Mayor Nan Whaley, who is the mayor of Dayton. And I'm just going to read what I said on behalf of the city, as she sent us something about we should talk about illegal guns in our communities. First, let me state that I, along with so many other mayors, stand with you and the citizens of Dayton, Ohio, regretting the terrible recent senseless tragedy that has victimized so many innocent people and their families. I send sympathies from my city of Pontiac, Michigan, with the understanding that you have come together as a city to support each other and emerge from this tragic event. Furthermore, I strongly endorse the messaging of the Mayors Against Illegal Guns campaign. I joined that coalition some years ago. In this era of increasingly irresponsible rhetoric, I'll put this on the website for those of you who would like to see the rest of it. Thank you.
Attorney Sharp?
I have nothing. Thank you.
Mr. Clerk?
Thank you, Mr. President. Just to be brief to answer Pastor Kathy's question during public comment, no, you do not have to re-sign for the absentee. We now actually have no reason absentee voting in this state of Michigan. And just to alert the community, Pontiac will have an election November the 5th. Oakland County has put a millage. Oakland County Community College has put a millage on the ballot. So therefore, there will be an election on November 5th in Pontiac. And in addition to that, I will be doing, thanks to this honorable body for putting the money in the budget, a newsletter explaining all of the changes to the laws about voting absentee, as well as what's on the ballot and so forth. So that will be coming out. Thank you.
Councilwoman Peatler.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, council colleagues, Madam Mayor. I left out of this room because when we were talking about the tennis courts, because I did ask for the paperwork that we had, there was an excuse coming to the table, which I was actually speaking with the finance director, but again, the mayor decided she was going to speak up, so I just, you know what, I had enough of it. We've listened to it for 6 years. She's interrupted. It was time for me to leave before I said any more. So I'm glad that my colleagues did see what I read last night while I was working with hospice patients and $2.55 million. We don't have that kind of money. Our police department is short. They're asking us for $683 for another DPU unit, which deals with the major crimes and getting guns off the street. We've had more shootings again last night. We have a gentleman in the hospital. I'm hoping he is still alive, and they will be able to go further with that case. Because nobody, of course, nobody at Newman Court seen anything, heard anything again. So we do need to see if that individual that was struck did have anything. Mary Evans, before we get waylaid, Mary Evans was here to make an announcement. It's an event that she and I are putting together on August 31st. We have the Country Throwdown. It's one of the first country events and country concerts that we have had that either of us can remember, and we're both longtime residents. It is going to be held at 7 Your Emerging Space over at 7 North Saginaw, which is right above the Fillmore. So we ask that you mark your calendars. We're going to have fun. We have Kenny Ken's band coming in from up in the Oxford area. He plays quite frequently for an entity, a bar that Jim Bostic owns, which is, there's a little plug, up in Lapeer. But, you know, we need to have some fun. We need to have different kind of fun. Not everybody likes gospel. Not everybody likes jazz. And when somebody invited me to a jazz concert when Bubby Webb was coming, I told him, thank you, but no thank you. Now, if it was a country thing, then come back to me. And Mary says, let's make it happen. So we are having a country concert again, August 31st. It's a Saturday. It's going to start at 8 p.m. It's going to run until 1 p.m. We have already asked about the horses coming in so we can have pictures. You can't ride the horse, but you can have your pictures taken with the horses, and Mary is arranging for that to happen. Thank you to Andre Ewing, Captain Ewing, for letting us know what it was going to cost, and because he's going to furnish us with the information as to how we find those horses and get them in here, because they will be deputies. Thank you very much, sir.
All right, Councilwoman Miller.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, everyone. First, I want to start with my district, District 5. I have an announcement next Thursday, August 15th at 6 o'clock. I'm having a special meeting over in Harrington Hills specifically. There's a new development that I'm really kind of looking forward to it. I'm hoping the residents would like the idea. I plan on walking through my neighborhood and this weekend and speaking with everyone one-on-one like I normally do. Also, I wanted to inform the Hills that on 450 Boyd Street, which is the street that I do live on, there's that empty lot, and I did get all the grass cut back there and got it down for you. So, I'm working on it, and we got great things that maybe want to do with it back there. And try, because I know a lot of you guys got issues with it for the ones that's on Coombe. Also, I want to say, University Place Apartments, given notice, I have called the new management. They have new management there. I'm praying that they are going to get someone decent that's going to take care of that apartment. It's going to bring it back up to code. And I'm looking forward to meeting with the new management I want to let them know that they got a council person over there that's going to be watching them and make sure they treat those people right up in there, because they've been through living hell for the last 2 years with the old manager. So I wanted to mention that. Again, I would like to still mention August 15th, 2019, at 6 o'clock at the Harrington School, we're having a special meeting. So I'm asking each and every one, even all District 5, you are welcome, but it will be a special meeting. Now, what I want to mention also, I wanted to go quickly into Mr. Johnson, Chuck Johnson. See, I'm class. I got class. I didn't mention it, and you notice I never mention it. It's just dice. Because people in Pontiac always say they're so terrible, they're so ghetto. And so I try to carry myself with respect. Even though you don't agree with me, but I live my life with peace and harmony and try to do people right. But anyone know me, yes, I'll get with you, but that don't mean I'm going to hurt you. Now, I've watched Mr. Johnson. I've been coming down here over 17 years, become nothing but a big bully for years in this dice. I never said a word to him. I don't even know him that well. For some reason, have a tendency to want to pick on me. Maybe because he don't know anything about me and I carry myself to myself. All I do is work for District 5. And District 5, believe what, you know me. You know who I am. I'm not a person that do things just off the top of my head. And I will say this. For anyone that looked at that video and heard him state that I could be found dead in a hole, that is a threat. So it leads me to believe that some political moves were made to get him out of that PPO. So all I'm going to say to Mr. Johnson, I've never been afraid. You should know that I'm a bulldog. I never will be. Keep my name out of your mouth and stop threatening me, because I do have people in this city, believe it or not, that love me and don't want to see me in a hole. Thank you.
All right. Councilwoman Doris Taylor Burke.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, I have an announcement that I was asked to make. Alpha Omega Christ Center Ministry and McLaren Hospital will be presenting a back-to-school rally Saturday, August 17th, 12 noon to 4 p.m. Backpacks will be provided for ages 5 to 18. Food will be served, one backpack per child, and prayer will be given to those that feel that they need someone to pray for them. And they said that you can park in the lot across from the parking garage, or either across the street. That's McLaren Hospital, Saturday, August 17th, from 12 noon to 4 p.m. And, you know, I'm really wrestling with this downtown because I am all over the place. And by me being involved in a lot of organizations, I am in a lot of places. And it hurts me because I've been here a long time. I know what was downtown and how we could go downtown and get anything that we needed from downtown, including a grocery store was downtown. Now, it's nothing but alcohol downtown. I have never seen a city that everything in their downtown is alcohol. And if you need a pair of socks, a pair of stockings, you have to go someplace else to get it, because you can't go downtown Pontiac and there's no, you know. And that bothers me. It really bothers me, you know, but to each his own. But I do live here. I've been here most of my life, and I know what was downtown at one time. And now it's nothing down there but alcohol, you know, and people get upset with you if you voice your opinion, you know, so I just say forget it. I just go ahead and vote. So whoever want to hang out down there and drink, God bless you. I would like to leave you with this. If you allow people to make more with deposits in your life, you will be out of balance and in the negative. Know when to close the account. Good night.
Thank you, Dr. Taylor, and thank you for hosting the tea party for the young ladies. Good evening, everybody. Good Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I'm so glad to be home. I've been to 10 cities in the last 5 days, and there's no place like Pontiac. Out of all of the 10 cities, we had an event at the Bowen Senior Center, and that had the largest turnout of all 10 cities. And I'm talking about Kalamazoo to Detroit to Flint to Benton Harbor to South Bend, Indiana, and it was great. What I realized, though, is that even though these other cities have the dynamics that we have, one of the major problems that was mentioned in every city was people working in silos, meaning people working by themselves instead of getting engaged, being together, and coming together. So I'm excited about those possibilities. With that being said, Thursday 5:30 to 9 at Pontiac General Hospital, there's going to be a Pontiac Business Roundtable, which is free and open to the public from 5:30 to 9. And then for people who want to have fun, on August the 9th, they're going to have an adult prom downtown, and I am on the host committee, and I'm giving away 5 tickets for people to come sit at my table. The great part about it is they're going to make over 5 homeless ladies, and they're going to have the time of their lives. And so that's going to be August the 9th, which is Friday, from 6 to 11 at 7 North Saginaw. But if you want one of those free 5 tickets, just let me know. Just want people to dress up and have a great engagement. I didn't go to my prom when I was a kid, so this will be my first one. I'm still not going to dance, but I'll be there. But the last thing I want to say on a more serious occasion is, as we see the national news about the violence that's happening, we have some local issues that we tend to turn the page on as if they're normal. Violence is not normal, it's not acceptable to be normalized, and our kids deserve to have an outcome where they don't have to worry about it. And so I don't know what the discussion is, Pastor Kathy, but I am going to ask that we, as a city, executive included, would convene a meeting and bring in some consultants that deal with not only trauma, but deal with violence in other communities, and really have a workshop on what we can do in Pontiac. Because I can't just keep waiting for the sheriff to get there, because even though they get there in 3 minutes, that's still 3 minutes too late. I want to know they're around, but I don't need to want to have to call them. So thank you and good night, Pontiac, but I just want to put that out there for people that we need to convene a real meeting to kind of tackle this issue. Good night. It's adjourned at 8:16. You said what? $5:30 to 9.